Welcome back to the AAA MF YouTube channel. Today we're at Orbit Racing in Riviera Beach, Florida. Why are we here? Well, as you know, I have a GT3 RS 4-litre in white and a GT3 RS 4-litre in black. Now, a few years ago, I started having a conversation with another owner of a 997 GT3 RS 4-litre in silver, Arctic silver. Now, they only made 600 4-litres in the world. 400 were white, 200 were black. And out of that 600 allocation, 20 were PTS, paint to sample, so you could choose the color you wanted. And today we have one of the only silver GT3 RS 4-litre in the world. And we've pulled it up along two other legends, which I think class as the best 3911s in the world. Let's bring on the owner of the GT3 RS, racing car driver, Jay Cochran. Hello, Jay.
All right, good to see you.
Welcome back to the channel.
Thank you.
Welcome to the channel. So we've been talking for a while now, and you've got this beautiful GT3 RS 4-litre. Do you agree it's the best car in the world?
Yes, I love it. It's fabulous. It's the one car I would never get rid of.
And this is coming from a racing car driver, right?
Retired now. Yes.
So tell the people at home a little bit about your racing career, because you're a legend. So tell people about your career.
Legend's a little strong, I think, but I've been very fortunate. You know, I started at the bottom, worked my way through, ended up specializing in more endurance prototypes back in the old Camel GTP days.
So when did you start racing?
Back in '87, and worked my way up and turned professional, I would say, in early '90s.
So you've done Le Mans?
I've done Le Mans.
What car did you do Le Mans in?
I drove the Ferrari 333 SP, which we didn't have the best run. The first time I went there, I was very fortunate to go with Tom Waukesha Racing in the XJ220C.
So you've raced Le Mans in a 220C?
Yeah.
So on the Mulsanne Straight, what were you doing?
I think we were just over 200 miles an hour. I mean, the big prototype cars were just cruising by us, which, you know, was kind of nice, because it could be pretty scary if you're in a little car and you got the big guys going by you at 40, 50 miles an hour faster than you.
And you've raced with lots of other legends. Derek Bell?
I have. I've been very fortunate to drive with some phenomenal drivers. Derek Bell, Al Unser Jr., Perry McCarthy. I don't know if you know Pell.
No.
He's a great friend.
Pell.
I have to put a little shout out to Pell. He was the original Stig.
David Coulthard?
He was on the team, yes. David. Brabham, Ailson was on the team. Marabaldi has been a teammate. I've been very fortunate to drive.
So you are an experienced race car driver, and you think the 4-litre is probably one of the best driver's cars in the world?
Yes, it just has wonderful character. I mean, 911s are a unique car anyway, and that, I think, is the pinnacle of what I would call the original 911. It still has all those little quirky things.
And this comes from a man who's got a 911 GT2 RS as well.
Yes, which is fabulous.
Most consider to be one of the best 911s ever made as well.
Yes.
Modern.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've done with it. To go from a 73...
well, we haven't shown people what we've actually got here,
yeah,
so why don't we show people what we've got?
Let it out of the bag already.
Let it out of the bag. So, we have 1972? 1973 2.7 RS. So, have you driven this?
I haven't driven this one, but I have driven one before.
And you've driven them on the road or the track?
I've driven these on the street car on the street, and I've also driven one of the race cars. It was a Le Mans. A friend of mine who had one, I got to take it on track, and it was great.
What track did you take it on?
Palm Beach International.
Okay. And what's this like to drive? It must have similar characteristics to the 4-litre, being a manual, naturally aspirated, light. Just the brakes don't work as well.
Yeah, it doesn't stop as well. It's definitely a little more busy. You know, I mean, these cars, everything's going on. They're much looser. The rear end, you have to watch for the trailing throttle oversteer with these cars. I mean, it's much more involved to drive one of the older 911s fast.
Right.
I believe.
Do you aspire to own this kind of car, or is this you don't like this older car?
No. Being a Porsche guy, I would love to have one of these.
You'd love to have one of these. Yeah. Let's move on to your car. which I don't think many people have seen. I have never seen a PTS 4 litre. I know there's 20 in existence, but I've never seen one. I've seen photos on Instagram. I've seen a red one in Switzerland. There's an orange one in Boston.
Yep.
There's a blue one in the UK.
There used to be a blue one here.
Oh, right, okay. But I've never seen a PTS.
This is Arctic Silver, and this is the only Arctic Silver.
Very nice. And you've got the carbon ceramic brakes, which is very important.
Yep. This one I have.
So the difference between these two, do you really feel the lack of power in that one, or because it's lighter you don't feel the lack of power in a 2.7 RS?
Well, yes, there is, but I think that these cars have such character anyway because of the weight and balance that it's not really as much about the power. Once she's going, and it's really all about.
Is that more fun, or is this more fun? Because everyone says the 2.7 RS is the pinnacle. Is it?
You know, I have to say, they'll put a smile on your face, every one of them. I mean, this is just a little more raw than this.
Right.
You know, I mean, this doesn't have any of the refinements that this car does.
Yep.
It's a true 911.
Okay, and let's move on to your 911 GT2 RS. Now, this thing is a beast. 700 brake horsepower, nearly. What's this like to drive? You've taken this on track.
I have. I've been on track with this quite a bit, and it's fabulous. I mean, it does everything you'd want to do. You don't really worry about it. It's so easy to drive. The systems have gotten so good that it's amazing that a car that looks just like this one, 73 over there, with the technology that's in this thing, it drives like a mid-engine car.
Do you find this fun to drive, or just capable?
I find it fun to drive because it is so capable and it is so fast. I mean, I never like taking a street car.
But you said to me, before we started filming, if you had to sell all your cars, you'd keep the 4 litre.
Yes, because it's just so special.
So why is that? Because I've taken mine on track, and I tell loads of people that this is the best car in the world, because I drove mine for 3 months before I bought the second one, and I just think it's the best car I've ever driven. But I think it sounds better coming from a racing car driver if you can try and express in words why it's so amazing, why you would never sell that car.
Well, I think it does everything that the old cars do. You get all that really visceral feeling, and you feel engaged on every level of driving this car. Yet it does have the precision of the modern age with it. And the engine, to me, the engine is everything.
Yes.
I love the power band. I love the way, the character it has.
I think
it puts a smile on you.
Yeah, and I think that extra 50 brake horsepower over the 3.8 litre really makes the car, characterizes the car.
It wakes it up.
Yeah. If you had to put them in order, the 3 legends, the 2.7 RS, the 4 litre, and the GT2 RS, in order, if I said to you now you could take one for a drive, only one, which one would it be?
Probably this one.
Really? Over the 2.7? Okay. And you've done a lot of miles, I guess, in the 2.7. Yeah? And you'd still go for the 4 litre?
What's that?
You'd still go for the 4 litre over the 2.7?
I just find this the most enjoyable.
Wow.
drive.
That is saying something. And these are more expensive, so these are probably going to reach these levels in years to come, I would imagine. 600 in the world.
They've gone up quite a bit. I haven't seen any paint to samples go for sale, so I don't know.
There was one in the UK. It went for about £400,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, left-hand drive this year in 2019.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a meteor grey one. So, do you know how many of these they made? The 2.7 RSs?
I don't.
No, Roger will know.
I'm not a good historian.
Roger will know. So, whilst we were about to film, you were saying that we're in Orbit Racing, and they've got 911 race-prepared cars here, and you were saying that the race-prepared cars are no match for a street car.
Yeah.
And you were looking at that car over there, so why don't we just have a look at that? Another race car.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of those? 964 3.6 turbo. I just sold my one last year.
I think they're fabulous cars.
To look at, right?
I've never lived with one, so I don't know what it's like to live with it, but I think it's beautiful.
I think it's pretty rare in the green. Yeah, I've never seen one in this color.
Yeah,
it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare.
But I'm a sucker for green cars.
Your wife's got a green car, yes?
She does.
What does your wife drive?
She has a GT3 4-liter in Irish green.
The 991?
991.
991. So your wife drives. Have you raced each other?
Yeah, she win every time.
You'd let her win.
Does.
You'd let her win, you mean? Okay, so why don't we go on? So shall we go and meet Roger,
Yes.
who owns this place? This is Roger, who runs and owns Orbit Racing. Welcome, Roger, to the channel.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about what you do at Orbit Racing.
Orbit Racing started off racing, and as we got older, quite honestly, we decided that we wanted more time at home. And now, in addition to our racing, we do a lot with the road cars you see around you.
So when did you start Orbit Racing?
Orbit Racing was started in the year 2000, and in 2001 we went to Le Mans, and followed that with 2002 and 2003 at Le Mans. Good
Wow,
stuff.
good history.
Yeah.
So what do you specialize just in Porsche?
We kind of take care of our customers based on their needs. Once in a while you'll see something sneak in here like a Ferrari or something like that, but we try to stay 90% Porsche for sure.
Right, okay. So there's a lot of cars in this showroom here, service center. Could you choose 4 to show our audience at home? 4 cars that you've got, 4 special cars.
Absolutely. Let's walk over here. The most smiles per mile you can have in a Porsche will be done in an open 356.
Really?
Test it out one day.
I'll come back and test it out.
They are wonderful.
And how much is this worth?
You know, these will probably be like the 1.3, 1.4, somewhere in there like that.
$1.4 million.
Yeah.
Okay, and how many did they build of these? Do you know?
I don't know the numbers on these. Not very many with this.
Is this steel or aluminium?
This is steel.
Steel body shell. Okay, and this one?
Well, this is actually a beautiful little car. This is a 64 356 SC convertible. So the SC was an upgrade. It had everything you'd want in a car.
It looks a bit like a Carmen Ghia.
It does. And remember, at the time when they were building these cars, the 911 was actually being built side by side at Porsche. So
this was mid-60s.
yeah, 64.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of people that were so afraid that the 911 wouldn't appeal to the masses. There were literally people that thought that people just wouldn't transition from the 356 body style to the 911 body style, and I guess that worked out pretty good for Porsche.
Well, they developed the 928 to replace the 911.
Yeah, that wasn't so good.
Okay, and shall we go on to the crown in the jewel?
Yeah,
The jewel in the crown?
I think even for me, I'm a little speechless when I stand next to this car. This car just arrived today. It's a 1964 904 GTS, and it is undoubtedly one of my favorite Porsches.
It looks very sexy from the front, very narrow.
It is.
So is this a racing car?
This is a racing car, but when Porsche produced these cars, they wanted them to be street legal. So every aspect of this car is street legal, and this actually has a title, and you can drive it on the street.
Wow! So it's a street legal race car.
Street legal race car back in the 60s. That was a formula that Porsche thought would be very successful for GT racing, being able to sell these cars to wealthy individuals that could perhaps use them on the road and then take them to sporting events.
So what year is this?
64.
64. One little single wiper.
Yes.
Does that work?
It does.
Does that get rid of the rain, really?
If it gets really
That
bad.
doesn't look like it gets rid of rain. So what's special about this car, apart from how beautiful it looks?
Well, this was the first Porsche that was designed with a, what they're going to call a composite body, but let's just use the rule. It's fiberglass.
Right.
There's steel tubes that consist of a frame, but the fiberglass body is wrapped and bonded to that frame to form an integral unit.
Is that like a Lotus?
It's very similar to a Lotus.
Right.
Correct.
And what's this? Fuel?
Fuel.
So you've got the fuel in the front?
Yes.
And the gearbox in the back?
Mid-engine. From the beginning.
So this
Porsche.
must be really fun to drive.
It is. This car was just up at VIR, and one of our most famous American race car drivers, Patrick Long, was driving this car.
Can I sit in it?
You can. Jump in.
Ooh. Okay. The door doesn't open anymore, right?
Nope. You can see it's limited by that little.
The strap. Yeah, there's a strap. Okay. Here we go. These are not easy to get in, and I'm tiny. And is this, what gearbox is this? Is it automatic, manual?
Manual.
Manual gearbox. How many gears?
Gearbox. Well, I'm gonna have to read the owner's manual there to tell you for sure. This is not a car that I'm infinitely knowledgeable about.
This is so antiquated inside. But it's incredible.
Look at the beauty of just the details of this car. It's even down to the hood latches.
So is this all original? This car is all original?
This is very original.
Wow. Okay, I need some help getting out here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not easy getting out of that. No. You have to be small to have one of these. How much is this worth?
Hard to tell. North of 2.
North of 2 million. Yeah. And how many did they make? Do you know?
Do not know for sure.
Do not know. No. Amazing. Yeah. What's this little brown 911?
This is a 68 911. It's going to be this car actually started life as about 5 different cars. The front end was from one car, the roof was from another car, both quarter panels from another car. So this car, as pretty as it looks, there's probably been about 600 hours of metal work to get it looking like this again.
Right.
So
to finalize the video, I want to ask you one final question. If we could come over to the silver GT3 RS 4-litre.
Let's roll.
Okay, so I want to tell people at home what makes this car so special. Apart from obviously how it drives, tell people at home what makes this car so special in terms of the engineering and the engine.
Well, this was a special project from Porsche. And when I first heard about the GT3 RS 4.0 coming out in 2010 or so, and I told all my top clients, just go buy one. This car is an instant classic, of which they all did. But to me, what really makes this car, gives it its heart and soul, is the engine. So this engine is a direct derivative of the engine that we use to race at 24 hours of Daytona, 12 hours of Sebring. So this engine is what's known as the Metzger engine. And the development of the engine was basically just for racing. So when Porsche, this engine will dyno at about 505 horsepower.
Right.
The engine that we raced at the 24 Hours of Daytona was about 520 horsepower. So we needed to do almost nothing to this engine except supply it a better exhaust to race it for 24 hours.
So what parts of this engine are like race parts?
Specifically the crankshaft, the connecting rods, the oil pump, the crankcase itself, the pistons and cylinders are the exact same pistons and cylinders we used.
Right.
And then the cam housings, we use different camshafts, a different intake, a different exhaust, but it's really 80% of this engine was the engine we raced at Daytona.
Right, so this is probably the best engine Porsche have ever put in a road car?
In my opinion, this engine will never be built again by Porsche. Right. In terms of the excitement that you can get from a 4-liter normally aspirated engine.
Right, amazing. Yeah. Roger, thanks for showing us around today. Fantastic showroom, and I'm going to be back when the weather improves to drive the Speedster.
It'll be here.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Guys, thanks for watching. We've got loads more content coming soon. Please subscribe. Please follow me on Instagram. We'll see you soon.